Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Other Minds and Hands. This is episode number 107, and today we're going to continue the planning of episode 1. We're going to do and this is part of this process of like figuring out the process, right? One of the places that we're realizing we want to do this early in the planning of individual episodes, and that is work through the primary texts together, and do some watch throughs and stuff. So today we're going to be doing some watch through and discussion. So there will be time. So if you have access to the BBC Pride and Prejudice and I keep forgetting the date of it. 2005?
2005, I think.
Yeah, the 2005 film. Of course, I think of it as the Keira Knightley film.
I know,
but,
and I'm like...
I feel guilty about that because she doesn't deserve credit for the entire movie.
I forgot the name of the director, and we just...
Yes, I keep messing that up, referring to it. But, the movie with Keira Knightley. Anyway, get those queued up. We're going to watch the first sections of that and do some discussion of things that we noticed, just to both to be looking for some of the specific questions, the specific things we wanted to look in
Joe Wright.
For.
Sorry, that's how long it took me. Joe Wright.
Okay, there we go. Joe Wright. So looking at the Joe Wright film, we're going to be... So the two specific examples we were going to give, to be looking at, to sort of use to isolate how things are conveyed in text versus how things are conveyed in film, and some of those kind of case studies that we had suggested. The two things that we had talked about were, one, the introduction of Lydia's character. How is Lydia set up and introduced to us as audience members in all three of our texts, right? And then the second one was the relationship between Lizzie and her father, specifically, to look again at what kind of cues we are given about that. And we're gonna start with the book, and then we're gonna go to the film, instead of just trying to pick out, because those are also kind of bitty, like Lydia will go across screen in 3 seconds and stuff. So instead, we're gonna take the opportunity, which is a fun opportunity anyway, to just kind of watch the first 5-10 minutes of each one through, and we'll kind of make notes as we go. And then also if something else jumps out at us that we want to talk about, we'll sort of have it then there as well.
This is a total lifting the curtain situation, because obviously Corey and I haven't prepped or organized. We're using this time in order to develop this stuff,
So as we explained at the beginning.
That's what's kind of fun though, So it is a certain level of my own kind of separation of don't worry about broadcasting, let's just do the work. Because when we would meet up to do Rings and Realms, this is what we do. So I kind of like that you guys are here for it. But the first time we would watch a Rings of Power episode, we don't talk. We just sit and watch, and you try not to react, which is really difficult sometimes. But you try not to react. And then the second time through, we talk a little bit, don't we? And then it's really the third time through that we're pausing and discussing stuff. And so we might do this a couple times, but I think it's just a really good exercise for us to get more familiar with the works themselves, but also to bounce ideas off of each other. Mm-hmm. And on that note, last time, we asked for anybody that was interested in taking notes for us, and we had two wonderful volunteers, Karen and Miss Van Reek. So thank you so much for volunteering to do that. So if you're here live, great. And if you're watching this later, still great.
Karen is, I see, at least. Yeah.
Oh, yay. Yeah. But we were hoping that you'd be willing to informally start tonight, and then I can have a chat after this to figure out a better process of what works for everybody. But the main thing is we're hoping Corey and I can just talk and not worry about taking notes. Mm-hmm. So we can just have a discussion, and if you're able to turn our discussion into bullet points that we can then use and reformat and put into scripts and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping you're okay with that.
That would be phenomenally helpful.
Thank you.
All right, so you want to start with the text?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I was picking out, and this was easy to do because it didn't take me long to pick out the relevant texts in the first couple chapters for the two things in particular that we were focused on. And by the way, if we are noticing things that we might be interested to talk about either as different or as additional case studies or whatever from our watch-alongs, we can come back to the text afterwards, obviously. Okay, so introduction of Lydia. Lydia is mentioned exactly twice in the first 2 chapters. So one of the things that you can notice if you read chapters 1 and 2 carefully, thinking about this question about how characters are introduced, one of the things that you will notice is that each one of the 5 girls gets a specific mention within the first 2 chapters. So the 5 daughters are all mentioned by name within the first 2 chapters. So that's one thing that Austen goes out of her way to do. And also alluding to the fact that there are 5 of them, right? Like, so there's the general fact that there are 5 daughters, and then she refers to each one of them by name. But she does not tell us much about what they look like or who they are. So there are 2 references to Lydia, as I said. So the first one, so I was trying to highlight the Lydia ones in yellow, but this one was in the middle of a Lizzie one as well. So blue was the Mr. Bennet and Lizzie color, but it absolutely refused to do consecutive paragraphs in different colors. So I'll jump to the middle of this little exchange between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. Where Mr. Bennet has just said he would put in a word for his Lizzie. So as you can see why this is going to obviously be an important one for their relationship. However, Mrs. Bennet replies and says, "I desire you will do no such thing. Lizzie is not a bit better than the others, and I am sure she is not half so handsome as Jane, nor half so good-humoured as Lydia. But you are always giving her the preference." So the very first reference to Lydia that we get, and it's interesting because on the one hand, Mrs. Bennet is introducing the oldest and the youngest here, Jane and Lydia. Mm-hmm. And she uses each one, the oldest and the youngest, as standards of something, right? Jane is the most handsome. She is the most beautiful. So she is the standard for beauty in the Bennet household, at least according to Mrs. Bennet. And we will find that pretty much everybody agrees with her on that point. And she says... But she speaks up for Lydia as well, calling Lydia, making Lydia the standard of good humor.
Good-humored.
Good humor.
I always found that such an interesting choice.
Yes.
Good-humored. Like life of the party is what I would interpret that for now. But...
Yes. So I think my understanding of the late 18th century connotations of the word humor is that humor is still, I mean, we're past the, medieval humors now. The idea of like the body being composed of the 4 different humors, phlegm and choler and blood and things like that. However, we're not quite so far past it as we are now. So we still use words that are, like words like melancholy, which are, derived from the system of humors. We still use the word humor as well. However, they were a little bit closer to it here and tend to use those terms still a little bit more often, still more generally in circulation, if I could make that really bad pun. But so when you say that somebody is good-humored, it generally refers to like their spirits, right? Like is it, do they have a gloomy disposition? So someone who is good-humored isn't some, like we might say, like in modern terms, we think about having a good sense of humor, like meaning like, she's funny or, amusing or something like that. And I don't think it's that. It's like she's upbeat and cheerful and, the life of the party, as you say. Jane might be beautiful, but she may also be, by this, for all we know, she's very shy and retiring and, beautiful to look at, but not in high spirits. Yes, as Phil says, maybe it means she's always laughing at anything and everything. Well, yes, sort of. Yeah, but again, that's what what it means to have good humor, right? To be always in a cheerful, sort of positive mood.
And life of the party, I mean, obviously at the balls we see, well, I don't want to talk about what we see yet, but like that's kind of the vibe that you get most clearly of like, oh, sure, she's going to be the life of the party at the balls. But I feel like this reference is even saying like in a couple, she would be extroverted and bubbly and, vivacious and all these things, even in just pairing.
Yes. And it's noteworthy that I think for 2 reasons that Mrs. Bennet mentions Lydia at all in this context. One, it's noteworthy because she's the youngest, and it would be perfectly normal for Mrs. Bennet to just be emphasizing Jane, right? For there to be a kind of birth order rank of importance, to treat the youngest as if she were the least significant, as if she were the least important. The fact that she chooses the youngest and emphasizes that she is the pinnacle of good humor in the family is I think significant. And the thing that I think that it is the other thing I think it's significant of is it suggests to you she is responding. Mr. Bennet has fairly flatly said who his favorite daughter is. Yeah. Right. And I think that she is responding, speaking up for her favorite. She's doing justice by her eldest, right? No, half so handsome as Jane. Like she will lead with the fact that Jane is the most beautiful because, of course, that's on her mind. They're having this this is chapter 1. They're having this first conversation about the rich man moving to town and Jane should marry him, right? So Jane and Jane's beauty is very much on her brain. Well, but she goes out of her way to mention Lydia.
And that puts the context of like what she values in what a couple would look for, right? So like what a potential husband would be looking for is beauty or life of the party. Like everything else, like quick-witted is not going to get her anywhere. What are you talking about? Right. So it's these two, she's willing to jump the age rank.
Yeah.
Because those two things are the most important qualities in her mind for her partner.
Right. To put it into really crude terms, and this is not a term Mrs. Bennet would use, though she would be this crude in her own way. Those are the two most marketable attributes of the girls. Right.
Well, good use of marketable.
I mean, again, it's not her language, but it's her style, right? To think about them that way and to talk about it that way. She's very direct when talking about making them available and saleable. Again, not her vocabulary, but in the line of her vocabulary. But yeah, she thinks that Jane and Lydia have the most to offer. Her business, as we are told in this chapter, is seeing her daughters married. And so, yes, I think that it is fair to say that those two things that she singles out show that those are the two things that she thinks are most marketable. Okay, so that's the first thing. And I agree with Sharon. I agree with Phil. We do see over the course of the book that Lydia is most like Mrs. Bennet. And I very much, basically, I picture young Mrs. Bennet as having something like Jane's looks and Lydia's personality, basically. Yeah. That Mrs. Bennet in her youth was very hot is clear. Yeah. Like that's explicit in the text. That her personality is like Lydia's, we can see, but it's very gentle. The way that concept is introduced here. Right. Yeah. That's the chapter 1 reference to Lydia, the only chapter 1 reference to Lydia. In chapter 2, so chapter 1, of course, is when they're having the conversation about how like Bingley has moved to town and, Mr. Bennet should go visit him so that they could be introduced, so that he could fall in love with one of the daughters. And Mr. Bennet gives them a hard time and says, "Oh no, I'm certainly not going to do that." And so he's giving her a hard time and about wanting to ship off the daughters for sale and everything else.
Right.
In the second chapter is when he finally reveals that, in fact, he has met with Mr. Bennet, with Mr. Bingley. And this is finally disclosed, and Mrs. Bennet is delighted, and Mr. Bennet leaves the room because he's had enough. And then this is the very, very end of the chapter. His parting remark as he leaves the room. "Now, Kitty, you may cough as much as you choose," said Mr. Bennet, because Mrs. Bennet was just yelling at her for coughing earlier on. He left the room, fatigued with the raptures of his wife. "What an excellent father you have, girls," said she, when the door was shut. "I do not know how you will ever make him amends for his kindness, or me either, for that matter. At our time of life it is not so pleasant, I can tell you, to be making new acquaintances every day, but for your sakes we would do anything. Lydia, my love, though you are the youngest, I dare say Mr. Bingley will dance with you at the next ball." "Oh," said Lydia stoutly, "I am not afraid, for though I am the youngest, I am the tallest." The rest of the evening was spent in conjecturing how soon he would return Mr. Bennet's visit and determining when they should ask him to dinner. Okay, so we see two things here. Once again, now, what was only very gently hinted at, right? The fact that she singled out the youngest daughter in response to his clear favoritism to Lizzie suggested potential favoritism on her part for Lydia. And now that seems a little bit clearer. Lydia, my love, though you are the youngest, I dare say Mr. Bingley will dance with you at the next ball.
And in front of the other sisters, too.
Yeah, she singles Lydia out. And Lydia's response, these are the first words that Lydia says in the whole story. This is the first independent action she's just been referred to this point. Oh, said Lydia stoutly, I am not afraid, for though I am the youngest, I am the tallest. Okay. What do we learn about Lydia in this paragraph, in this little
she's
chunk
awfully
of dialogue?
Young. It just sounds like such a kid response, doesn't it?
Yeah. Lydia's 16. She's 15, 16 at this point. I don't know exactly when her birthday is. I don't know when she turns 16. She'll be 16 later at the critical moment in the story, but she's either 15 or just shy of it. And Sharon, I agree. It is fascinating that no adaptation casts Lydia as the tallest of the sisters. We have it's the one thing we've learned, right? Okay, two. There are two things we've learned. One, Jane is the prettiest. Two, Lydia is the tallest. Like, that's almost the only objective facts we've learned about them.
And the directors are immediately like, doesn't matter.
Nope, doesn't matter. Yeah, that is really interesting.
But I mean, like, that alone is kind of an interesting conversation of like, because it doesn't matter. Like,
right.
We need it in the text to show us that she's the youngest.
Right.
We don't need it in the films because we see that she's the youngest in many other ways.
Right. So the comparison of heights, it is interesting. One of the things that I find interesting about it is that, is that it doesn't matter. Like, no one's ever going to, first of all, Mrs. Bennet didn't mention that as a saleable quality, right? So, like, it's not obvious that Mrs. Bennet doesn't anyway seem to believe that the guys are going to care. The potential suitor's going to care about this. So it doesn't seem, and nor is it ever going to come up again at any time in the story, right? No one's going to be like, oh, your sister is so tall. Like, it's, it's not going to matter.
Oh, Lydia, your height is amazing.
Right, exactly, right. Oh, boy, I'm blown away by the height of Lydia. No one's going to praise any other woman's height. Like, again, it's never going to come up. So the fact that Lydia brings it up, she's not bringing it up. She does not appear to be bringing it up because it is, in fact, a thing that generally matters.
Yeah.
So why does she bring it up? And what is interesting about the fact that this is the thing that so first we should back up and say the fact that she is claiming some kind of superiority over her four older sisters is important, right? She's clearly comparing herself. She is clearly thinking and feeling about how she herself matches up to her older sisters. And that's not unlikely for a fifth sister of five, right?
Right.
I know enough youngest kids to know that this sort of thing happens, right? The thing that interests me in what she points to, no, she doesn't point even indirectly to the thing that her mom pointed to, saying that she was exemplary for, which is good humor. She could have done, right? She could have been something like, I'm not afraid. For though I am the youngest, like the rest of them are all really boring, right? She could have said something like that.
Jolly,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm way more fun. But she doesn't. She points to a physical characteristic. And what that suggests to me is, first of all, Karen, I think you're absolutely correct that it's a very juvenile thing. Kids care about their height. If the youngest grows to be the tallest of the five, that's gonna matter to her. Yeah. Very disproportionately matter to her.
I vividly remember the day I was taller than my mother. It was glorious.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, exactly. So there is something, I think, childish. I mean, like, it's not quite like 8-year-old, but it's like closer to 8-year-old than to 25-year-old, right?
Totally.
So that's one thing. It's a very immature kind of perspective. But the other thing is that it's objective, right? Like she wants to prove that she measures up in some sense, even if it's a literal measuring, right? And it would be hard for her to make a case in any other way, either to like be dismissive of her sisters in a way, in like a crude way that I described, like to call them boring or something like that, or to say I'm more fun. But she's not content with a sort of purely subjective claim, right? She fixates on something. She fixates on something objective, like I can prove that I am best in something, right? And nobody can question it. I am the tallest. So that's one interesting thing about her first little quotation here. And the other is her declaration that she's not afraid, right? And it's set up by Mrs. Bennet's words. Lydia, my love, though you are the youngest, I dare say Mr. Bingley will dance with you at the next ball. Now, if we stop there, right, and we don't know what Lydia says, you could imagine many responses to that. You could imagine Lydia is an extremely shy, mousy girl. And therefore, Mrs. Bennet is like, it's okay, Lydia. I bet even you he will dance with, right? Yeah. But that's not her response, right? She is not a shy, mousy girl. She responds stoutly. The adverb really jumps out in this paragraph, right? Oh, said Lydia stoutly. Lydia responds to things stoutly. She's not afraid to answer back. I am not afraid, she says. Not afraid of what? Not afraid he won't dance with her? Not afraid of dancing with a strange man. You know, she's just been talking about making new acquaintances, right? So we're talking about a strange, exciting young man she's never met before. I won't be shy, right? There's no chance of me being shy. But also, there's no chance he's going to get away without dancing with me. Or there's no chance that I'm worried that he's going to refuse to dance with me, because I am the tallest, after all, right? I know I'm going to be taken seriously as a woman on my own terms, because I'm taller even than Jane, right? So just because I'm youngest doesn't mean that, like, I have any anxiety that I'm not going to be taken seriously, and treated equally to everybody else. And the fact that she's answering back her mother this way, even the "oh" at the beginning, is a slight almost expression of surprise, right? Like, oh, like, I'm surprised you would even say that. Of course he's going to dance with me at the ball, right? I'm not afraid. And then by using that as the segue to the comparison, for though I am the youngest, I am the tallest. She's like, I mean, like, how could anyone question that he's going to choose me, perhaps above all of my other sisters, right? If somebody says Miss Bennet, the eldest, is standing over there, he'll probably think it's me, right? That seems to be Lydia's attitude, and she seems surprised that other people don't have that attitude, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and this is where I start to wonder, like, is my knowledge of Lydia like overshadowed by my knowledge of the films, right? Because it's tough to separate the two.
It is.
But I feel like you can hear her saying this in a sisterly, annoying sisterly tone.
Yeah.
So we see that in the films, but the fact that you can actually hear that in the text, I think, is very vital, because that is what comes across. So
yes.
You know, that's the feeling that we're getting from her, that she has to very quickly answer because she has to be heard in this room of 5 women that are super loud and never stop talking. So she just goes, "Oh, I'm not afraid. Therefore, I'm the youngest and I am the tallest." You know, it just feels like it's like, quick, get it in there. What's the first thing in my brain?
Yes,
and it's a young thought, but
yeah, exactly. And notice also how she doesn't acknowledge, like, her mother, Lydia, my love, right, has just made us bestowed a token of affection upon her in a way that is singling her out from the rest of her sisters. Lydia doesn't acknowledge it, doesn't reciprocate the affection in any way. Oh, I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Right. She instead immediately corrects her mother. I mean, it's not exactly, like, it's a little bit rude. It's not like bad, unmannerly precisely. Like, it's not like she should be reproved for talking this way, but but
it's not deferential.
No, it's not deferential. It's not appreciative. It's not, this is not like,
You think so, Mother?
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. There's no blushing response to her mother's compliment or anything like that. It is sort of beyond taken for granted, essentially, by Lydia. So that is to say, exactly as you suggest, the annoying little sister vibe, I think is clear, right? Yeah. Is, the first quotation we get from her, it's easy to see that you might want to smack her. And it's, I mean, if you were her older sister, especially, is what I mean. If you contrast it with Kitty, Kitty's already spoken. Kitty is going to be a much less important character than Lydia, but she already gets some space. Lines. Yeah. So when about the coughing, where
is it? I do not cough for my own amusement.
Yes. I'm trying to. Yeah. And then there's the introduction of Mary, so cutting, where her father says, "What say you, Mary? For you are a young lady of deep reflection, I know, and read great books and make extracts." And the narrator says, "Mary wished to say something sensible, but knew not how." Oh. While Mary is adjusting her ideas, Mary, he continued, "Let us return to Mr. Bingley." Oh, it's just savage.
It's so good.
Savage. Yeah. Okay, I think it's in the... Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's at the end in the middle of this the discussion. Oh, so yeah. "Don't keep coughing so, Kitty, for heaven's sake. Have a little compassion on my nerves. You tear them to pieces." "Kitty has no discretion in her coughs," said her father. "She times them ill." "I do not cough for my own amusement," replied Kitty fretfully. "When is your next ball to be, Lizzie?" So a fretful complaint about how she is being ill-used by both of her parents is the first introduction we get to Kitty here, right? And again, notice the adverbs. Fretfully is our introduction to Kitty. Stoutly is our introduction to Lydia. Right?
Oh, I love that. What are the first adverbs we get to describe characters? Mm-hmm. Very nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's because
I can see that on a slide of like, here is our first descriptors.
Our adverbs, yeah. So it's because it's one of the things. Remember, like back when we were talking about how much data a film can give you in like 1 second, right? Mm-hmm. When a line of dialogue is delivered on film, right? Even apart from the specific filmic elements like camera angle and lighting and costuming and background and everything else, you've got the actor's tone of voice, the actor's facial expressions, the actor's body language, right? The relation, like the timing, the physical relation, like how close they're standing to somebody else or what direction they're facing. Or, I mean, all of these things factor into how we receive the thing that they said. Jane Austen has one word with which to qualify, to give us a sense of the quality with which Lydia is speaking. And that is the adverb, stoutly. So an adverb attached to a conversational tag like this is really important because it's doing a lot of work. That one word is doing like the equivalent work of facial expression, body language, tone of voice, everything, right?
All of it. Yeah.
And that's pretty intense. Okay, so those are our Lydia introduction passages.
I'm wondering if we should watch it now because Lydia's fresh in our mind. So instead of continuing with text, do we go to the two pieces now and just talk Lydia?
Or, well, we'll get the introduction to Lizzie and Mr. Bennet too in the same film passages though. So
section. Okay.
Let's just look at those quick because there aren't too many of them. I mean,
I'm not in a rush. That's good.
I've been looking through the whole, like we paged through here a couple times the entirety of chapters 1 and 2. They're short, right?
Yep.
Okay, so the first indication that we get of the relationship between Lizzie, who's daughter number 2, and Mr. Bennet is, here we've got Mrs. Bennet. But consider your daughters. Only think what an establishment it would be for one of them. Sir William and Lady Lucas are determined to go, merely on that account. For in general, you know, they visit no newcomers. Indeed, you must go, for it will be impossible for us to visit him if you do not. You are over-scrupulous, surely. I dare say Mr. Bingley will be very glad to see you, and I will send a few lines by you, that is, he's going to write a letter, to assure him of my hearty consent to his marrying whichever he chooses of the girls, though I must throw in a good word for my little Lizzie. I desire you will do no such thing. And here's the paragraph we read before. Not half so handsome as Jane, nor half so good-humoured as Lydia, but you are always giving her the preference. They have none of them much to recommend them, replied he. They are all silly and ignorant like other girls, but Lizzie has something more of quickness than her sisters. Mr. Bennet, how can you abuse your own children in such a way? You take delight in vexing me. You have no compassion on my poor nerves. Okay, so notice one thing that we can notice about this right away. It's entirely one-directional. That is, we're not told anything about what Lizzie is thinking or doing. Right. We get no reference to her facial expression during this or anything like that. We just get his words and Mrs. Bennet. So him twice singling Lizzie out, right? First calling her my little Lizzie and emphasizing that he would throw in a good word. If it comes to commending his daughters to a good suitor for marriage, he would put in a good word for his little Lizzie. And then we have the recognition by Mrs. Bennet of his preference, that he's always giving her the preference, and her contrary assertion that Lizzie is not a bit better than the others. I am sure she is not half so handsome as Jane, nor half so good-humoured as Lydia. And then he doubles down, right? He dismisses all five. They have none of them much to recommend them. They are all silly and ignorant like other girls. But Lizzie has something more of quickness than her sisters. And so here we are given not just a reiteration of his preference, but a specification, right? Mm-hmm. Why does he prefer Lizzie? What is it about Lizzie that has made her his favorite? And it's her wit. It's her intelligence.
And his value on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yes, Phil, I do agree with you. One does not get far into this book before one is confronted with the compelling idea that Elizabeth is the one of their children who is most like Mr. Bennet, and Lydia is the one who is most like Mrs. Bennet. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. That's really interesting. JJ points out that the words stout and stoutly are used 3 other times in the book as well. And 2 of the 3 are applying to Lydia. So they really stoutly is a Lydia thing, actually. Yeah. Yeah.
That would be interesting to see how that was received in that time, because it's certainly not all positive now, is it?
Yeah, no. So and I don't think, by the way, it has anything to do with her body, right? No. It has to do with to be stout, yes, to be firm, right? To be firm and resolute is how I would paraphrase stout in the way that it's used in the 18th century. Oh, it's 3 times total. So 1 other time it's used, it's about Lydia, and 1 other time about somebody else. So 2 of the 3 times total it's used, it's about Lydia. Yeah. Okay, JJ, I'm curious and I don't have time to brainstorm. What's the other time?
I know.
Can you quote me the other one, the non-Lydia one? Because I'm curious now. But it's mere curiosity. Yeah.
I enjoy your observation of Lizzie's on the periphery for all of this, because I'm trying to remember what is in the films. I know we'll watch it again in a minute, but that's a really interesting choice to not have Lizzie be outwardly speaking about herself. We're observing who she is by the people around her first.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So the main conversation is between the 2 parents. Chapter 1, nobody speaks but the two of them, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet. So we don't get any of the daughters. The daughters come in, they get dialogue in the second one. So watch what happens in the second chapter with Lizzie. Oh, of course. Sorry, the other use of stout is when, remember, I've always been taught to view poetry as the food of love, says Mr. Darcy to Elizabeth.
Oh, yes.
And she says, of a fine, stout, healthy love it may.
Yes.
Everything nourishes what is strong already. Strength, firmness.
Strength.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, JJ. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Excellent. Okay. Anyway. Okay. Mr. Bennet was among the earliest of those who waited on Mr. Bingley. He had always intended to visit him, though to the last always assuring his wife that he should not go. Until the evening after the visit was paid, she had no knowledge of it. It was then disclosed in the following manner. Observing his second daughter employed in trimming a hat, he suddenly addressed her with, "I hope Mr. Bingley will like it, Lizzie." "We are not in a way to know what Mr. Bingley likes," said her mother resentfully, "since we are not to visit." "But you forget, mamma," said Elizabeth, "that we shall meet him at the assemblies, and that Mrs. Long promised to introduce him." "I do not believe Mrs. Long will do any such thing. She has 2 nieces of her own. She is a selfish, hypocritical woman, and I have no opinion of her."
No opinion at all.
"No more have I," said Mr. Bennet, "and I am glad to find that you do not depend on her serving you." Mrs. Bennet deigned not to make any reply, but unable to contain herself, began scolding one of her daughters. And this is the coughing scene that we just read. But remember at the end, after Kitty's fretful reply about not coughing for her own amusement, she then says, "When is your next ball to be, Lizzie?" "Tomorrow fortnight." "Aye, so it is," cried her mother, "and Mrs. Long does not come back till the day before, so it will be impossible for her to introduce him, for she will not know him herself." Okay, so Elizabeth has only said one thing, and it's directed to her mother, not to her father, right? "But you forget, mamma, that we shall meet him at the assemblies, and that Mrs. Long promised to introduce him." In response to Mrs. Bennet saying, "We are not in a way to know what Mr. Bingley likes, since we are not to visit." And Elizabeth steps in and says, "We will know him. We will meet him at the assemblies." So we see her, what sort of peacemaking here, in a sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
She's trying to appease her mom.
Save her father. Yeah.
Her mom is ranting about her father's refusal, right? And Lizzie is trying to, I don't know if it's a full attempt to divert her precisely. It's not like she's changing the subject or something like that, right?
No, appeasing is the right tone of, don't worry, we're going to meet him at the assemblies.
Right. I think it is also possible. And again, this is one of these things there's so many things like this in Austen where you can think things, but you can't prove it. Mm-hmm. Proving things in Jane Austen can be really, really hard because she is so wonderful at suggesting things, but you can't absolutely nail it down. Anyway, so for instance, you could make an argument. Now, this whole scene is an elaborate joke being played by Mr. Bennet, right? Mr. Bennet is egging Mrs. Bennet on. And he's the outraged reaction she is having is exactly what he is attempting to incite.
He's pushing her buttons.
He's pushing her buttons so that he can then turn around and reveal the fact that he's already introduced himself to he's already met Mr. Bingley. But instead, and remember the whole thing, like the beginning of the chapter, that first paragraph ends, it was disclosed in the following manner, right? So we're being shown how Mr. Bennet chooses to disclose this information to Mrs. Bennet. So it is possible that Lizzie guesses precisely what he's up to, sees through him right away, and is playing up that when she says, "Oh, don't worry, we'll meet him at the assemblies," she knows that what her mom wants is to meet him before the assemblies, so that they can already be acquaintances, right, when they're at the ball, and that maybe even she can, because if she meets him in advance, then she can be like, "Are you going to the ball?" Well, and then he has the opportunity to ask Jane to reserve dances for him before they even get to the ball, right? So meeting him before the assemblies is exactly what Mrs. Bennet is shooting for. And I think Elizabeth knows that. So she says this sort of appeasing thing, at least outwardly appeasing thing. And yet I think it's likely that she is setting her up, that she is joining her dad in pushing her mom's buttons, and knowing, as her dad knows, how her mom is going to react, and suspecting, as I don't doubt Elizabeth does, what Mr. Bennet is actually up to. I think that she knows when her dad is joking long before her mother, and often her mother never figures it out, right?
Which just, again, further shows like the alignment to her father, the fact that she's playing the joke with him, like, get it, dad, let's go, let's attack mom. Like, they're birds of a feather in this instance.
Yeah. And as I say, I'm not 100% confident in this particular reading of this. Now, that they're two birds of a feather, we will be given other reasons to see later on.
Yeah.
And that both of them enjoy laughing at, Elizabeth will say later that she enjoys laughing at the follies of foolish people, right? When she sees folly in others, she finds it very funny. And she enjoys laughing at it, just like her father obviously does. However, the reason I'm less than 100% confident in that reading of this first speech of Lizzie's is that she also doesn't really love the fact that her dad snipes at her mom like this. Like there is something sort of cruel in how Mr. Bennet treats Mrs. Bennet, because he knows she doesn't get it. Like he's humiliating. He's humiliating her in front of her children, repeatedly. He is to bring out the ridiculousness, right? If you find your spouse ridiculous in some way, to bring it out in a way that invites your children to laugh at her is
without her
her being in the know at all, right? Yeah. It's not like it's an inside joke. It's at her expense, right? That's not awesome. That's really not awesome. And I think there's evidence that Elizabeth doesn't love that, about her parents' relationship. But all of these things, as I said, it's hard to prove any of it. Almost every element of what I just said is hard to prove, because she doesn't come out. I mean, there's like the one thing of all of the claims that I've just made, of all the interpretive claims I've just made, and there are a whole series of them leading up to that conclusion, the only one that you can totally prove is because Elizabeth actually says that she enjoys laughing at the folly of others, right? Like that we know to be true, and that we can observe to be clearly true in her father.
But that is what's fun about this as an adaptation. I think most of Jane Austen, like every sentence, like picture a table read of a bunch of different actors and then get a whole slew of new actors in. It's going to be a totally different vibe,
yes.
Just in how they deliver. But you forget mama. I mean, that could be exasperated, that could be sensitive, that could be appeasing. Like there's so many different ways to deliver.
It could be satirical, right?
Totally.
I mean, or again, like apparently appeasing with a satirical edge. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there are lots of ways that you could do it. And this is very Austen. Notice, for instance, not only is she not giving us adverbs, any of those helpful adverbs, she's not even giving often not even giving conversational tags. Like in this whole passage that you can see here, the narrator says almost nothing.
Yeah.
There's only the one. Mrs. Bennet deigned not to make any reply, but unable to contain herself, began scolding one of her daughters. So that transition from one portion of the conversation to the next is the only, apart from a said Mr. Bennet and a said Elizabeth, everything else is just pure quotation. and we're given no other cues at all. So as you say, yes, different actors in different moods with different personalities and different readings and different relationships with Jane Austen could read this scene completely differently.
And that would be a really fun exercise down the line, if we wanted to do like the different versions of Jane or the different versions of Mrs. Bennet. Like,
Hmm.
you could absolutely take all of their lines and be like, well, how about in this pass, she's green with envy?
Right.
And we just put that slant onto all of her lines, and you would hear it, you would feel it. Okay, well, this time, that's like an improv exercise. Like, this
Yeah.
time, you are a chef in a, whatever.
Oh man.
But
I,
I could see putting some of that under her and having it work.
yeah. What's my probably my favorite line in my favorite uh imagine what's actually going on, or imagine the tone of a line of dialogue in Pride and Prejudice in the whole book. Probably my favorite example of this, and I'll just mention it now because I don't think we're going to talk about this scene in the in our series. It's when Mr. Darcy is standing and watching Elizabeth, and Miss Bingley comes up to him and says, I can imagine your thoughts right now. And he says, I should imagine not. I love that line.
I can think of all the ways that you could hear it, but I feel like we all hear it the same way.
Yeah.
I should imagine
I
not.
should
Like,
imagine not.
and I'm picturing him behind his newspaper being like,
Yes. Yeah. No. Anyway, but it's so rich. And again, it's one of the things that makes Pride and Prejudice a book you can read again and again and again and again. And every time you read it, you hear it a different way.
yeah.
Like these lines will hit you in a different way.
Wasn't there a quote from Jane Austen about how tired she got of dialogue? Like, once they got married, they never spoke again because she was just tired of writing all of the dialogue.
I don't remember that one, but
Oh, I'll have to look. I'm hoping I didn't make that up. That's tickling a memory from an English class. But yeah, it
okay.
was just something about how much work she puts into the dialogue. There's not a lot of heavy lifting from the narrator. It's all in the exchanges between these people that we get the entire story, but also these characters' personas.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is doing a lot of work.
It's doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and so by the way, this is in these first couple paragraphs, first couple chapters, that is, that this moment, Lizzie's first words here, are the closest we get to Elizabeth, like any sense of her reciprocation, any sense of her response to her. We get the a couple different references to her father's preference for her, and what her father values about her. That is to say, her quickness, her wits. But we get almost nothing from her to him. Eventually, we'll get more. But again, to sort of set the scene and to set this up, we don't get that. Notice, by the way, his preference shows itself again by he starts by directing this to Lizzie in the first place. Right, observing his second daughter employed in trimming a hat. Presumably, his other daughters are doing other things also around the room. But he singles out Lizzie and what she's doing and makes her the premise of what he's going to say. I hope Mr. Bingley will like it, he says, dropping his hint that she's going to have an opportunity to meet Mr. Bingley. And you'll remember he was like, I'll send a note saying, he should marry Lizzie, that I particularly I give him permission to marry any of the girls, but I would particularly recommend Lizzie. And now I hope Mr. Bingley will like it, Lizzie. Right. It's like he's making her the protagonist of the Mr. Bingley story, right?
Yeah, he's putting her to the front, but I also find it funny that like he's the one saying, "I hope Mr. Bingley will like it," Lizzie, and it's not Lizzie that answers; it's Mom.
It's
Jumps
Mom,
straight
yeah,
in there.
right? Who immediately cuts across, yeah. As of course he no doubt intended, right? Like she was the true target of his, and so notice also Lizzie doesn't respond to him. She doesn't join in. So she could do that. Like when, instead of saying, but you forget Mama, she could be like, yeah, Dad, right? She could, because he addressed her, but he doesn't pile on. He doesn't even add in. She doesn't pile on. She doesn't add in. She doesn't respond to him at all. Instead, she turns and addresses the mom, which is one of the things that makes me think that she's kind of picked up on it and is in the know, or is, kind of rolling with it here. But remember the other reference then, Kitty saying, when is your next ball to be, Lizzie?
Yeah.
Right. Seems to echo or to take the lead of Mr. Bennet's introduction, saying that, she hopes Mr. Bing, because presumably she's working on her hat, right? She's trimming her hat, for an occasion when she's going to wear it out, right? Such as it might be to a ball, right? And so Kitty seeming to pick up on that. When is your next ball to be, right? So are you preparing that hat to wear at a ball? And if so, when is it going to be? And Lizzie says, tomorrow fortnight. That's her second speech in the book, right? Tomorrow fortnight to Kitty, confirming that. And then, of course, the mom comes straight back in, and there we go back to Mr. and Mrs. Bennet at that point. But yeah, like what she's doing, what she's saying, what she's thinking, how she's looking, Elizabeth herself, we get nothing other than those two little quotations. And she gets no adverbs, right? She doesn't say it.
Which is so interesting, though, because like now, knowing how much we know, it's like, why would they put her in that situation? Why would Jane Austen write her in this specific way? Mm-hmm. Well, I think we might need to know what Lizzie's situation is. So by giving us all this dialogue around Lizzie is the steady, calm point.
Right.
And we have all this melee around her.
Right.
So when we do start to learn more about Lizzie, we see how intense that inner calm is for her and how she kind of channels that, her own strength of intelligence and everything else amidst the chaos of her household.
Yes.
Because we're well familiar with the chaos of her household by the time we get to know Lizzie a bit better.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right. Well, we're starting to run out of time. So let's watch the opening of the BBC together, shall we?
Let me cue it up.
All right. I'm going to do my multiple headphones gig here.
I'm going to turn it down so you don't hear it on me, but I'm watching on my TV. So
right. I've got on my iPad here.
I'm still in the lard. There we go. Opening credits. I've paused at galloping white horse hooves and a boot.
Okay. All right. So we do get the opening credits first.
Let me know when to hit play. We'll go together.
Okay. Okay, go.
Do you want to just watch it through, or do you want to talk as
No, we can talk as we do.
I'm like, we've seen it a few times.
Okay. Notice
we already talked about
notice the emphasis traveling. Of like the horse's hooves kicking up the dirt, like it's
churning.
Yeah.
Power, stoutness.
Okay.
How that house is framed. We see that it's grand. Oh, I think they're charming. So we already have them in a position of authority looking down on the country folk. Oh, I think they're charming. It's so condescending.
And notice we get the dynamic between Bingley and Darcy. Mm-hmm. It's nothing to Pemberley, I know, right?
Yeah, somebody summarized their relationship to me as a golden retriever and a cat. I was like, spot on. But here, we see her, but we don't get anything.
Oh, hang on. I'm not up to her yet. I paused for a second.
No. I have her profile.
Okay, so no, I just got to the end of them riding away there. Notice it's Bingley who charges right off. I shall close with our attorney directly. And then he turns and gallops off, and Darcy rides after him, but he pauses first. Like, he doesn't immediately bolt after him. So again, we're being shown their difference in status, right? Mm-hmm. Their difference in attitude, right? It's clear to see which is the good-humored one here, right? And we're seeing also their difference in character, like impetuousness of character as well.
But also interesting that Darcy then flashes past him.
Yes.
It's Bingley riding and Darcy's like, come on.
Yes, that is interesting.
I do quite like that because he I'm the golden retriever. I'm all excited. I'm going to buy this house. He bolts off. And Darcy, okay, small child, and then catches him up. I quite like that.
Lizzie, we get this profile pic shot of Lizzie.
Where are you on the profile or the dead center?
Oh, no, sorry. I meant like social media profile pic.
Oh, gotcha.
Like the close up, not super close up, but the close up,
Yeah.
right? The
Taking up the majority of the center frame,
yes, yeah, really center frame. And by the way, accessorizing the blue sky behind her excellently, right? But so we have her silhouetted again. Well, again, we have her against the sky, right?
Yeah.
So this provides us context for the conversation that we've just seen. And this is so our first introduction to her character is that she's observing the whole thing.
Yep.
So presumably she couldn't overhear their conversation, right? She's just seeing the two of them galloping by.
Yep.
But the actions of the two men is being done within the gaze of Lizzie Bennet, right?
Which is also really fun now that you can rewatch it, because if you rewatch it thinking of what is Lizzie seeing, you pay attention a lot more to that body language, to the pace of the horse, to those small little exchanges that do tell you something about what's going on, because she's also trying to read the room and see what's happening down there.
Right. And which one is in fact the better horseman, right?
Yeah. But also which makes those filmic decisions really blatant, all of that is super choreographed because we know that she's supposed to be interpreting something.
Yes.
We don't know what yet, but
I'd never really thought of this, but you're absolutely right. Elizabeth Bennet as audience member, right?
Yeah.
We have been watching Mr. Darcy and Mr. Bingley, and then we pull back to find that actually she's have been us alongside Lizzie, right?
Yeah.
So,
which is also great because that positions us in the same frame as her. So
yes.
like we're on the same team. Like, oh, you're watching too? What'd you see?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And so there's a deeper kind of intimacy of connection between Elizabeth and the viewer created by this.
I think and like how she's presented too, there's nothing for me to read much in that, right? Like it's pretty spot on. The only thing I would say is that she is very clearly looking down.
I was gonna say, yeah, the camera angle, we're looking up at her, right?
Yeah, we're looking up at her and she's clearly up on a hill or something. So even just the fact that she's kind of looking down on them, I kind of like. It does put her in this certain, and she's got, a little bit of a smirk on her face. She's clearly enjoying watching.
Yeah, she's got a bit of a Mona Lisa expression looking down on them, right? It's like a mysterious half smile kind of thing going on there. Smile. I agree. There is a kind of an air of not superiority in the sense of like bad snobbish way, but this is definitely not a she's looking up at them in wonder kind of situation.
Well, and she's in no way threatened. In any other situation she would have to be socially aware and norms and mores and all that stuff, and nope, she's just watching. And then it cuts back to the two men racing, and it's when Bingley flies past him and is winning this race. So she's clearly watching this guy just pounce and beat and win this race and beat the other guy.
Right.
It's amusing her. But then she turns away, just walks.
Right. And now we see her. Now we're level with her. Now we're looking at her. Right? So we're no longer camera angle up anymore. Right.
Nope. Watching her walk down the hill.
Yeah. We're
turning around and admiring the beauty around her, frolicking and skipping. I mean, now we're learning a fair bit more about Lizzie.
Yeah. Seeing her move. So seeing her in the landscape. So her and this is important, right?
Tell me what you're seeing. I want to try to catch up.
Okay, sorry. I paused just for a second at 156, which is just when she's just spun around, but she hasn't started to skip and run yet down the path.
Let's see if our timing's the same. That's also yes. Okay, we are. That's handy.
Yeah, good. So, where are you watching it, by the way?
BBC iPlayer.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm watching it on Prime Video. So, okay. Anyway. This is the second different landscape shot that she has been against, right? So we're doing a lot of emphasis of her in this landscape. What is this landscape? Beautiful rolling English countryside, but not just English countryside, English farmland.
Yeah.
Right? Both views, both this one and that first one that we got when we saw her turn sideways with the blue sky behind her, but we could see the landscape then. It was fields that we were definitely seeing. Which tells us something important, right? So, I mean, again, think this is the BBC, right? It's 1995 and this is the BBC. And it's Jane Austen. So, but even if you know nothing, even if you're one of the very probably, I think, as we said before, I suspect that the percentage of people who have never heard of Jane Austen is probably much smaller in England than it is in America. But even if you're completely ignorant about Jane Austen and you're watching this, you have two clear cues for context, right?
Yeah,
one is dress, right? The men in top hats and tails, and her in her, high-waisted dress here.
Bonnet.
Right. And her bonnet. Right. Okay. Yeah. So we're in, 18th, 19th century, and we're in agrarian England. We're in the
rural,
countryside.
Pastoral England.
Pastoral and farmland. Her father gets his money from farming their land.
Yeah, I feel like so often when we see these period dramas, it's just wild green rolling hills. So the choice of doing it in something that has actual borders and fences and tilled earth.
Tilled earth is what we're seeing all over the place. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And they could have filmed it at almost any season. I mean, there are not that many. There are a few parts of the story where the season matters, but not that many actually. Yeah. So they could have had rolling green fields. They could have had, crops. Instead, they have tilled earth is what they've chosen.
I hadn't even thought of that. They chose tilled earth. So there's nothing in it yet. We're planting a seed.
We're planting a seed. Yes. It's not grown yet. Yeah.
I love when those things happen.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. This is me thinking about 1995 BBC Studios. I can't imagine they were that organized when picking their location.
I never. So first of all, I never underestimate it, because you've got not only because, as we know, they think about almost everything that goes on screen, but also you will have probably had at least one person whose entire job was scenery, right?
Yeah.
And who therefore would have been thinking about it a lot, right? Or a whole team. Yeah.
And they would have said, yes, we need, our camera crew can access this road because look at the road. We can drive a truck up there. Right. But also, it will give us a great expanse of field. And look, there's a giant tree anchoring us on the left. So it gives us, sorry, I'm at 156 still.
Yep,
They give us that, solid grounding with that L shape where we have the foreground with Lizzie in it, but then we have a middle ground with that road curving around, so we see she's going somewhere, which is really cool.
Yes.
But then there's all this space behind her that is fresh tilled earth.
Yes.
Pretty cool.
Pretty cool. And I can't help but notice, as you have taught me to notice, that the road that she's following goes straight and then turns off to the right. But also notice that the road that she's following does not go straight. It heads towards the left, but before it gets to the edge of the screen, it pivots sharply and goes straight off to the right.
Yeah.
In other words, the road that she's following is an allegory of her entire narrative.
We could read it that way,
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where we will never say this is clearly what the directors meant. It just means this is how it could be read.
It just works.
You could absolutely take that and be like, well, clearly.
It just works. Yeah. And it does also show us things about her. It, as Sharon is pointing out, it shows her activity level. She's out walking in the middle of nowhere by herself. So we do see we see her independence. We see her, I don't want to say not energy level, but her
spirit.
Her spirit. She's active. She's out and about.
And she's bright and she's curious and she's basking and enjoying the day. I mean, spinning a circle, who does that?
Right. Right. And then, because if we then go on from here, then that's right. Going on from here is when she starts skipping and then running down the hill, which is.
Tell me when you hit play, Corey.
Oh, sorry. I hit play just now. I just hit play. Yeah.
Tell me when you hit pause.
Okay. And now she's.
Picking
flowers.
The path is getting a little bit more structured.
Adorable baby horses.
Oh, the babies. But now we see more farmland, fences.
Yeah.
Road,
okay, hang on. Pause as she's going into the into the Longbourn Gate.
Okay.
As she's about to go through the gate. So I'm paused at 2:22.
Got it.
So again, the split rail fences with horses right? Once again, we're in farm country, right? She's not in the wilderness. She's not on the moors, right? This is not a Bronte story, right? She's not, she's not, but nor is she in London, right? Or even, Bath or, Birmingham or,
any of the other cities,
any other town or city, or Oxford, right? Or anywhere. She's in the countryside. She's on a farm. She's in farm country specifically.
And again, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was going to say, like, social context. Like, we're getting much
and we
more.
we have another sign of spring with the baby horse. Like,
baby horse,
new life, new flowers, fresh.
Yeah, exactly. Phil is pointing out how comfortable she was walking that close to the horse. The animal knows her, right? Yes, it's not, you're right, Phil. It is not just farm country she's walking through. It's her farm country that she's walking through. There's an element, not of like proprietariness, but comfort from her here. And notice that this smile, I wanted to say, like, the skipping and running, that was a very childlike thing.
Yeah.
Especially the running with her hands up, right, as she was like going down the hill and keeping her balance by like holding her arms up over her head. It's a very like it's a very sort of little kid moment, though a private one, right?
And also, I mean, frolic is the word I'd use, where it's just again, nobody's watching.
Right.
This is the pure Lizzie. Like, we're getting Lizzie outside of society's gaze and on her own, independent. This is what she wants to do. She wants to spin and frolic.
Yeah, exactly. And she's walking around with that smile on her face. Like, she's not beaming, right? She's not grinning. She's just yes. There is a contentment and peace in her expression and attitude as she's walking around, right?
And a bit of a coming alive, I feel like this is how she gets her spirit is these walks, this being outside. So there's a certain
So it's worth mentioning, 2 minutes and 22 seconds in, we've learned already a great deal about Elizabeth, right? Compare to what we've learned about Elizabeth by the end of chapter 2 in the book. Right. Almost nothing about her character, personality, how she relates to her home, the kind of home that she lives in. We don't know that she lives on a farm yet. We have reason to believe probably that she's probably not living in a city. Like, she's probably not in London. But even that, like, do we know that 100% for sure in chapter 1? I'm not sure we do. Like, it's not obvious.
Inferred, but it's not stated. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anyway, the point is we certainly don't get the farmy touches and stuff like that, right? Like so there's so much context that's being filled in, and there's so much introduction, the focus on her character, and even the way in which the focus on the men at the very beginning was recontextualized. In fact, that was about her all along, because she was watching them, right? She was observing them. That's just,
and we don't get any of the chaos of her family yet either.
Yeah. No, we've got not any. That's what's going to happen now as we come into Longbourn, right?
But also interesting that it's kind of flipped, right? Because in the text, we just got quiet, calm, serene Lizzie amongst the chaos.
Yes.
In the film, we're getting calm, serene, strong Lizzie in her space, entering into the chaos.
Yes.
So we get to come with her in this adaptation. Mm-hmm. Whereas we're just watching it all unfold in the text. Yes,
exactly. And we will see the text will give us at times time out with her, like with Lizzie or with Lizzie and Jane from the chaos. But yeah, we don't get this kind of build up and introduction. Okay, I'm gonna push play again.
Me too.
All right.
She's going through the gate.
All right.
And now we see the house. Like, oh.
But also, don't forget now, I made you turn down your volume very sensibly.
Oh, I know what's happening. Don't worry.
Yeah, I know you know what's happening. We're hearing Kitty's voice.
I'm pausing. Wait, pause it. I'm at 2:38.
Okay, sorry, I'm at 2:32. I'll catch up with you in a second.
Okay.
So we hear Kitty saying, Lydia has torn up my bonnet and says she will wear it to church and it's all my own work. Right? So we've got Lizzie and Kitty arguing. Kitty running to Mama to complain about what Lydia did to her.
Kitty and Lydia arguing. Yeah.
Kitty and Lydia. Sorry, what did I say? Lizzie?
Lizzie.
Sorry. Kitty and Lydia arguing, and Kitty running to Mama, complaining about the horrible thing that Lydia did to her.
Injustice.
Then we get starting at 2:38. Now is here we get the first time with her dad.
I mean, the actual eye roll.
The actual eye roll through the glass.
Like, make eye contact and... But even before that, like, we've watched her... I mean, you could kind of infer from her dress that she was not a farmhand, right? Like, she had a very clean, very white skirt.
Yes.
But as she walks up to the house, though, you're like, oh.
Right.
Like,
she's that kind of farm girl.
You're that kind of country girl. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, now it'd be like the equestrian with the boots and the, I don't know, the jodhpurs and everything else. I'm like, oh, you're that country girl. Okay.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't even ever think of this before, but her comfort with the horses and the horses being right there also suggests that she is like a fit partner for Mr. Darcy, who's such an excellent horseman.
Oh yeah, because we just had the shot of the horse before.
Of them on the horses, yeah.
Nice
and we had her walking by the horses. What was clearly a mom horse with, a mare with foal, right? A mommy and baby horse.
Okay, if you're that might be a little bit of a jump, but I'm with you.
I'm just saying, it's like horse in a feminine space is what I'm saying. And
with the idea of procreating, which is all Mrs. Bennet is ever thinking of. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, so Lizzie and her dad.
Okay, Lizzie and her dad. So this going out of in the adaptation now we have gone out of our way, and again they're being immensely efficient in all of these things, right?
Yes.
And I love how this is done. The fact that we hear the two sisters squabbling off. So now we know she has multiple sisters, right? At least two, because they're arguing and running to her mother in a way which certainly suggests they're her younger siblings, right? This sounds like teenage behavior going on. Yeah, teenage squabbling. And then we get the dad, right? We get Mr. Bennet with his book and his eyeglasses. Sorry, I'm going back a little bit. Okay. So we first see him from behind, right? So we get Mr. Bennet in his chair, in his coat, with his book, and Lizzie through the window. And his bald spot, right? So we see he's...
gazing out the window longingly, facing away from the chaos.
He's facing away from the chaos, right? Exactly.
Secluded in his own space.
And we see she has unaccidentally stopped right outside his window, right? She is clearly stopping to look at, knowing he will be there.
Yeah.
And not only knowing he will be there in that chair facing that window, right? So she has stopped here in order to make a connection with him. So there's this whole unspoken conversation that the two of them have together with a shared eye roll.
And you could probably also say that he knew that she goes out walking to escape this chaos. So maybe he was sitting there awaiting her return. Right. So he was looking out to make sure Lizzie came back and had this eye contact with him. Yes.
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 Yeah. Yes.
So definitely have them not in cahoots. I don't think they're planning anything yet, but aligned.
So here's one of the things that Lizzie initiates. He looks over from his book, so we see him move his head. Then she smiles and sort of moves a little bit. Like she initiates the conversation. She like smiles. She's like, yeah, we know what's going on. And he responds with his eye roll. And then she reciprocates with her eye roll. So the conversation is a conversation she starts, and he acknowledges and like does his part, and she shows that she's right with him, right? The likeness between the two of them, the strong relationship between the two of them, the sympathy, how the two of them are both alike and both alike uncomfortable with the chaos and with, her mom and stuff, is very clearly communicated in this interaction that we get between the two of them. But again, the thing that I'm focused on here is not just this full understanding, the understanding that we show that consist, but that she initiates it, which is exactly the opposite of what Austen does. Austen shows his favoritism to her. He singles her out twice.
Yep.
As being, his particular favorite. And that's certainly enough to suggest that there probably is some kind of, relationship or understanding between them, right? Like he's not doing that out of nowhere. But having her be the agent instead of the target is a really important choice.
And I think we said this a few episodes ago where we were talking about Lizzie as the lens, and it's just where you're starting to see this much more clearly, and we're 2 minutes in.
Yeah.
So she is, the facilitator of the story moving forward, whereas it's more reactive in the text. So I don't think, when we start doing the comparison, it can get a little bit dicey. We're not talking about, well, in the text it's this, in the film it's this. No, we need to see their connection, and it can be told this way in text where we read between the lines. We see what's happening in this dynamic. We're able to infer, all these kind of things that you do in mental world building with textual reading.
Yes.
And in film analysis, we're being shown this stuff. So let's just cut to the chase and follow the person that we're supposed to be gleaning information about.
Yes.
And that's what they're doing, but they're still doing it in these really nuanced, subtle ways that we hadn't, immediately grasped onto. My dog's about to lose it because I think my brother-in-law just came back to the house. So
yeah, and
FYI,
we're about out of time anyway. So
yeah, if I go on mute, you know why.
Okay. Well, anyway, we probably shouldn't go too long. Actually, why don't we just stop here, because
let's just stop here. I'm like, that's a nice.
We're already
spot,
paused, and we just and by the way, we've already gotten our first 2 data points, because we've gotten the introduction to Lydia, which is interesting because she's alluded to first. Like, we hear Kitty's words first, complaining about Lydia. Mm-hmm. Then we hear Lydia come in, and so what Kitty is complaining about is that Lydia has claimed something of her own for herself. Mm-hmm. So we already have like the younger, like reaching up and grabbing, right?
Proprietary rights.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then she fires back at her. Lydia says she'd be afraid in it. She's too plain to look well in it. She's like, I should have that bonnet because it's too pretty for my older sister. It would look better on me, is her like whole argument, right? So we're learning there's stoutness there, but there's more than just stoutness, right?
Jealousy, competition, cattiness,
not just like the willingness to speak out, not just I'm not afraid, right? Yeah. But like actual cattiness and
I will throw you under the bus.
Yes, yeah, exactly. A clear sense of entitlement from Lydia as well. Right. Like that, her response to my sister stole my bonnet is not like, oh, no, I didn't steal it, like most kids would say. It's, yeah, I did because I deserve it more than she does, because I'm prettier than she is and it looks better on me. So I should have it even though it's hers. Right. Like that's Lydia's response.
Which is such sister logic.
Right.
But it looks better on me.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, and her expressions, she'd be afraid in it. She's too plain to look well in it. Which is I have the subtitles on, and it's the subtitles are on in the frame. I happen to have those are the subtitles up in the frame. I happen to have paused at. Like that's very strong language.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, catty and rude to her sister, as well as all these other things. So, and also still like immature. In this kind of a squabble with her sister. Not acting. Whereas again, we see Elizabeth, by contrast, Elizabeth and her father. Elizabeth is very, mature and measured and, looking very much like a grown-up compared to the child voices we're hearing in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll continue. We can watch a bit more, I think. Next time, though, honestly.
Oh, I thought you meant now. I was like, no,
not now. Next time.
Next time, yeah,
we can pick up and watch some more of the introduction, because we haven't even gotten to the like the opening line yet. Right.
But I feel like this is the right way to go about doing it. So I don't think it would take too much more to get through this and then write up what we're going to talk about, talk through it, and in another maybe 1 or 2, probably another 2.
Yeah. So next time we'll return to watch through, and we'll do watch through of the Joe Wright film as well. Not the whole thing, not the whole film, just the first few minutes.
And let's say we're at 2:38 of it. So it's basically like we just finished talking about
Lizzie and Mr. Bennet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yay. And
Excellent.
are you good for next week?
Yeah, good for next week.
Let me check. I think I am too. The one after that, I might not be able to.
One after, I am definitely not able to.
Oh, great. We did this last time, didn't we?
I think so.
All right, so we're good for the 28th. We're not for the 4th.
That's right. So probably the 28th and then probably the 11th.
Probably the 11th. I'll let you know about that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Here,
That's pretty far in the future, but...
I love that we're week by week. All right, so I'll see you next week. Sounds
Very
good.
good. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Take care.